I want to say Happy New Year because it feels like the new year has started. Back to school time, September, the fall, it is just a natural time where people are motivated to get back on track or to get back into routine or to just reset a little bit. And I mean, it makes sense, right? Summers, whether you have kids going back to school or not, summer tends to be that time of year where we're a bit more spontaneous. We're getting invites to go to cottages. I mean, it was different this year with COVID, but we were allowed to move around a bit. So people were packing up and driving to the beach for the day or going up to cottage country or visiting, social distancing, obviously, but it's more spontaneous. And we do tend to consume foods and beverages that we don't consume all year round, but we do a little bit more of that in the summer. And that very often leads us to feeling this sort of like, oh, I'm done with that. Like, I'm just ready for my normal diet. I'm ready for my normal routine. I'm ready for my normal life. Now, if you are adding to that, you're adding a huge emotional component because you're judging yourself for the behaviors of the summer. So if you're judging yourself for the kinds of foods, if you're describing your body as gross, I'm trying to think of some of the words that people have said to me in these last couple of weeks on our calls. But it tends to be just like, oh, it was just so bad and it's time to get back on track. And like there's this penance or cleansing or purity that needs to be, re-aspired to. And this is the whole diet culture, pseudo-religion space that we've landed in. And it's truly unfortunate because, life goes in waves, right? And it's a bit of a pendulum swing. And so the more out of routine and the more chaotic things to be, the more we're going to have a natural pull to find ourselves back in a bit more of a predictable pattern, both in the way that we live and the way that we eat. And hopefully, we like that with finances, with work schedules, with the whole thing. We really do thrive as much as sometimes we resist the ebbs and flows and natural rhythms of life. But once we have added this judgment of, I was so bad, we ate all the crappy foods, now I'm all gross. If we're saying things like that, we're adding an emotional pull, which just really yanks that pendulum even further the other way, which then the desire for it to swing, instead of its natural swing back into a bit of rhythm and routine, it can swing way into these detoxes and cleanses and plans. And again, this sense that we need to reestablish some purity or something. But it's this, the suffering that seems to go with that. So then what happens is people sign up for programs or they pull together up their own plan. And so meal planning starts to be a thing. Now, let me be super clear. I love meal planning. It is something that we do almost all the time in our home. Obviously, we definitely get into the crazy that life provides, and I embrace that because some really cool memories happen on those, hey, you want to go, and it's fun, right? But meal planning has a tendency to swing us into a restrictive diet that we didn't mean to put ourselves on, or maybe we did mean to put ourselves on, but it doesn't work very well. And the reason why it really truly doesn't work very well is because fundamentally it's based on some sort of unacceptable piece of ourselves, whether it's that we view our behavior as unacceptable, we see our body as unacceptable, we view the foods that we were eating as unacceptable, but there's something that is just not okay and we need to fix it. So there's this, I don't even know how to describe what I'm trying to say right now, but it's angry, it's hurtful, it's not loving. Let's just say that. So then it becomes about what I'm taking out, becomes what I'm not going to be eating. And maybe we might say, yeah, I'm going to eat some more veggies, but I'm not going to eat And you know what's currently vilified? Sugar, carbs, and animal products. Those tend to be the top no-nos of our current diet culture, wellness culture wave. So those tend to come out of the meal plan. And this restriction then leads to a rebellion, whether it's from your own self, because eventually we crack. Of course we do. And there's a multitude of reasons. You probably saw, or hopefully you've seen some of my videos about the effects of hunger and restriction and just that subtle under eating that we are conditioned to believe is appropriate. That leads to this rebellion where then we're eating all of the things, we're off plan. And for most people, that's within the first few days. Some might make it to the end of the month, but certainly by the end of 3 months, almost everybody is not following their plan anymore. But I think it's close to 20% won't even make it through the first week. So if you're watching this, you are very likely off the plan that you had intended to start with September. Now, if we can reinvent this meal planning and make it a plan of eating, it's a commitment to eat. It's built on acceptance. It's built on the acceptance of my body has certain needs, certain caloric needs, certain pleasure needs, and I understand those needs. I accept those needs. I can also base this on accepting what is my skill level in the kitchen? What are my time restrictions? You know, if I want to be able to hang out while it's still sunny and nice and play catch with my kid, you know, to me, it's not a fair exchange that I have to spend that time in the kitchen because the food I need to prepare takes so much longer. So part of it is accepting where the limitations are, both with your money. I mean, my gosh, the health food stuff, it's expensive. And so you want to be mindful of your budget. You also want to be accepting and honest about how much time that you have and are willing to commit. And like I already mentioned, your skill level in terms of preparing foods. So when we base it on acceptance, the acceptance of my current realities and my current needs, then the plan of eating becomes about permission instead of restriction. And that permission is to know that sometimes I am going to, sorry, turn that off before it interrupts me again. I am sometimes going to stop and pick up food on my way home from work, and then I'm going to cuddle up on the couch with the kids and I'm going to watch a really funny movie because that is way better for my health than fighting with the kids, being short-tempered, being hangry, and trying to prepare a meal that no one's going to enjoy. There's always an exchange there. So it's the permission to include foods that you love, which would include carbs and sugar and animal products. It means including the permission to prioritize other things than your food and your nutrition into your weekly plan. And this, instead of leading to a rebellion, leads to a peaceful place where food starts to become enjoyable again, where the family stops fighting about food all the time. And you can still, if health is a priority for you, which it does not morally, you do not have to care about your health. Just in case no one ever told you that, you don't have to. But if that is something that you value, then you can absolutely still make sure that your health is a top priority and enjoy the life that you're living. So if you'd like to know about this kind of meal planning, because it's a little bit different than probably the kind of meal planning you've done in the past, I am running a workshop next week, and I'm going to include a link to the guide that I prepared. It's called Meal Planning Pitfalls. And it's really the top 3 things that I see people doing, which I've just touched base on here, but it goes into more depth about that. And then there's an invitation to this workshop. And it truly is a workshop. It's going to be where you're actually leaving with something in hand, not just me yattering along without any kind of interaction or feedback. So if that is something that you'd like to know a little bit more about, then please go ahead and click the link. It's going to take you to the meal planning pitfalls, and that will give you the opportunity to also register for the workshop. And yeah, Happy New Year. Please remember, food does not have to be a fight with yourself or with your family. There are lots and lots of ways to just incorporate all of the foods and keep your health at the very top of your mind if that's something that you care about. All right, I hope to see you next week at the workshop. And if you have any questions, fire them off in the comments or send me a message.